Can anybody hear me? Is the microphone working today?
Yes, I can hear you, Councillor Lee. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. You're so lucky.
All right. Morena tātou. Good morning, everybody. We'll just settle ourselves in and get ready to start. Thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa, nau mai haere mai. Welcome to this Infrastructure Committee meeting for the 15th of July. This meeting is being live streamed, so I just remind everyone to have their phones turned on silent. And we shouldn't need our morning break this morning. We'll see how we go. There is a spot at 11 a.m. should we need it. I'd just like now to ask Councillor Patterson if he would open with a karakia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tūtaua mai I runga, tūtaua mai I raro, tūtaua mai I roto, tūtaua mai I waho. Kia tau, ai te Māori tū, te Māori ora, ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, tae ki e.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Now, I'll just note apologies. Item 2, we have an apology from the Deputy Mayor. Are there any other apologies?
Lily said, Your Worship. Chair, I might need to leave early at 12 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Turika.
Councillor Timera Benfell is an apology.
Sorry, yes. He'd be running a little bit late.
For lateness. Thank you. So Councillor Timera Benfell for lateness. Are there any further apologies? We appear to have none, so could I have a mover and a seconder that the apologies be accepted, please? Thank you, Mayor Tapsell. Seconded, Councillor Wang. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. And I will note that we have Councillor Lee with us online. Good morning, Councillor Lee.
Good morning.
We'll now move on to item 3, which is the declarations of interest. Are there any declarations this morning, councillors? There appear to be none. There have been no urgent items brought to my attention. Are there any minor matters for discussion today? There appear to be none. Thank you. So we'll move on to item 5, which is the confirmation of minutes of the Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 17th of June. Do I have a mover and a seconder that these are a true and a correct record? Thank you, Councillor Sanford, and seconded by Councillor Brown. Are there any matters for correction? I will then put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. We're on to item number 6. We have no presentations today. So item 7 is staff reports, and 7.1 is the capital delivery update for the recovered water project. This is on page 13 of your agendas, councillors. Could I ask for a mover and a seconder that the report capital delivery update recovered water project be received? Thank you, Councillor Rokawa-Tate. Seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That is carried. And I'll just now hand over to Ian Gray and Stavros to overview the report. Thank you.
Good morning all. Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for your time, as always.
Can I just check that if you put your microphone a little closer, Ian? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So I am aware that we presented this project in more detail to take us through the first stage a month ago, so this is very much just an update of where we're at. The cadence has just worked out this way, so it's a good opportunity to update. A lot is going on. Approximately 2 weeks ago, we had 3 groups through the wastewater treatment plant, and the linkage is clearly the wastewater treatment plant to recovered water. Thank you. We had our recovered water working group through on a Thursday. We had quite a number of our team in there. Overwhelmingly positive around the changes that have been made to the treatment plant. Following day we had Te Amarangi unit take our Te Aroha partnership group through. Again, hugely positive, and probably the overwhelming from both groups was the perception that the upgrades were relatively minor, sort of around the edges, and both groups, when they saw what had actually occurred, overwhelmingly, and probably the media as well, overwhelmingly overcome by how much work has actually occurred, and it's not a minor upgrade, it's a very significant upgrade. So from a journey-making perspective and helping key partners and groups that are assisting us and the public, massive step forward for the understanding. So I just want to thank the wastewater treatment plant project team for facilitating that, and for all of those groups who went through. Media was really good, the outcomes to that on, I believe, the Daily Post print edition, so really good that we got one of our major infrastructural projects on that edition, so that's a fantastic outcome. Again, messaging really good, was picked up in there a comment around the final output to that being similar to Sauvignon Blanc, which wouldn't, we don't message like that, but it was really just a reflection, our technical expert picking up that there is a very slight tinge to the output at the end. So that was picked up on, but from the media perspective, really positive messaging across the project. So fantastic outcome from all of those pieces of work. The working groups continue. So I don't want to say the working groups are in a hiatus. We hit that milestone of that first decision. We're now changing gears a little bit. We need to pull consultants and subject matter experts in to give the working group the data and the information. So we're now in that procurement of SME phase. So we're just about to take something to market at the moment. We have to step through our procurement processes to get that out there. It is a big piece of work to get that to market. The immediate focus for the SME work is not going backwards, but it's looking at all of those sites and options. We've got 3 types of solution and 8 sites that passed through. It's just taking those back and doing that design work so that we can interrogate costs or get more granular on costs. So it's that first piece of work to give the working group more information, and they can then interrogate that against the MCA criteria and bring decisions back to this group. Aligned with that is the landowner discussions and engagement. The engagement sits at all different levels through existing relationships. Some of that's at our senior exec level, some of it's new engagements or new landowners that we don't have a relationship with. So we're just stepping through that whole process now. That is sitting against the consultant engagement. So ideally, and you'll see when I talk about the program, it's a very tight program. So we're pushing the button on everything going at once, but with the thinking that we want to stop pieces of work when what I'll call a fatal flaw. So it can't proceed. The landowner has unequivocally said no, or the costs are significantly different to what we were assuming in the first stage. So we are in that landowner discussion. That has kicked off, and it's sitting at all different levels, and it's all different things isn't quite the right word, but based on those relationships, there's a lot of different mechanisms that we're working through in that space. The consultant engagement needs to be done sequentially, so we're kicking off across all of the sites and all of the solutions to seeing which solutions sit on which sites, what the costs are. That's a real key piece of work for us. That is running towards the LTP process as well, so that's the key first stage. There was a lot of work done previously on previous sites, which we will utilise where we can for efficiency's sake, and we will stop the bits of consultant engagement where we need to, where they reach a fatal flaw. We will then kick in more invasive investigations as we narrow the solutions down, so we're in there at the moment. We need to kick a lot off, but we want to be efficient, and minimise the cost where possible. So that's where I talk about the sequential consultant engagement. The working groups will continue on a monthly cadence and will aim to optimise the investment, and a lot of the investment is in the SME space at the moment. That's where we're kicking into very strongly over the next year. That's where our big spend will be. And the big spend sits, sorry, not big spend, but comparatively big spend. That sits there no matter what site or solution we look at. We need to do a lot of work for this type of project. A really big thank you to the entire team, and I mean that's this council, it's our group, our project group for getting through that first milestone. You'll see the red line, we've just ticked through there last month. That was a lot of work and it was not easy, but we are through and that's fantastic. We change gear, we kick into the next phase. The next phase is we've termed it up there, the detailed investigation. That is staged as well. So the optioneering sits at the front end of that as we go back a little bit and put some more detail in there. So this next phase is extremely tight as well. We will do everything possible to keep hitting our milestones in here. It is really challenging, but that's all right. That is what we've brought into. And we're looking towards a milestone later in this year as we really narrow the solutions down. So it is good. The pie chart shows we're a quarter of the way through, which it doesn't feel like we're a quarter of the way through, but we are churning through time really quickly. Time has not slowed down for us. So ultimately this will be a big construction project as well, and we're spending a lot of time in the engagement phase at the moment. We're coming up to just over a year having been underway with it. Really just trying to tidy up some pretty pictures. That was the working group out on site. We had a terrible day out there where we had to scupper away and hide under an awning. It absolutely poured down on us, but again, overwhelmingly positive when people can actually see and understand what this prior council's committed to and are now closing out through this process. So it's actually been a really big month and we have a number of really big months to come. Really brief presentation, but happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Just to summarize Ian's presentation, the EU chair, we are in the second stage of the process. The process this council has adopted, the working group obviously, is progressing through the stage 2 multi-criteria assessment. At a high level, the indication is that, the working group will produce some recommendations over the next 3-4 months. Following those recommendations, depending on the council decisions at that point in time, those recommendations will be duly considered by elected members and embedded into the council's long-term plan in a public consultation process, so everybody is aware of what it is recommended. I just wanted to emphasize that we have an established process. We faithfully following that process with the working group. We will faithfully apply the multi-criteria assessment, so elected members will have in front of them all the necessary information to make an informed decision to the recommendations, the working group, will put in front of them. Again, as Ian said, I wanted to thank all those parties, all those people, individual members who've taken the effort to make submissions and table proposals, to that effect. And obviously every submission and every proposal is worthwhile considering, and we have a duty of care to make sure we consider every options so elected members can have the necessary information to make the necessary decisions at the appropriate time. So we'll leave it at that. Happy taking questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stavros. Thank you, team. And thank you for acknowledging all the people who have submitted from the public. And also I'd just like to acknowledge the working group for all their work so far to get to this point where we have some refined options to go forward for the next stage of investigation. We're going to have some question time now, and we've got Councillor Patterson, Councillor Lee, and then Councillor Rakawa Tate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, thank you again for the update. Certainly looking positive. we know that we live in an ever-changing landscape. Things are always cropping up that we may not have considered before. Yesterday, an article was published by RNZ about nitrates in drinking water and their impacts on premature babies. And there was a major study done in New Zealand. Over 750,000 people were involved in that study. And I'm just wondering, the legal limit set by this country is 11.3 milligrams of nitrate per per litre, or whatever it is. Where are we sitting with the new treatment plant? Does that filter out nitrates as well once it comes online?
I think there are two distinct differences. I think the nitrate levels in drinking water can be a source of health risk. I've said that before, and we are operating under the very strict drinking water standards of this country. All our water supplies are screened about maximum acceptable values for extraneous compounds in the water. So there's no chance that we will miss any excess nitrates in our water. Our recovered water from the wastewater treatment plant will meet all the regulated standards for that, which includes nitrogen, dissolved and non-dissolved organic nitrogen. And again, as you're aware, there have been new environmental standards for the treatment of wastewater, and we are guided by that perspective. I can do that in my head. We produce somewhere in the region of 8 million cubic meters, which is about 8 billion liters of recovered water each year. We produce 30, that we're required to have no more than 30 tons of nitrogen into that. Can do the calculations, we will be well under those limitations. But these are bathing standards. We're not proposing the recovered water to become drinking water, so we need to distinguish between the two of them. Thank you.
Certainly, no, I understand that. I was just concerned that we wouldn't want that getting into our environment either. If it's already being raised as a concern for us to drink, you wouldn't want it getting into the environment either. So if we had that sort of filtration capability with our new treatment plant, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Lee and then Councillor Rokawa-Tate.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. I'm glad you touched on the headlines in the Daily Post, Ian. I was pretty alarmed when I saw the headlines that compared the output from the wastewater treatment plant after spending near on $70 million to Sauvignon Blanc. Do you drink Sauvignon Blanc, Ian?
Have you got a question about the paper today, Councillor Lee?
No, not today. This was a couple of weeks ago. There were headlines on the Daily Post on the front page comparing the wastewater output to Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes, heard that, but have you got a question about the paper or...?
Well, is that accurate, Ian?
Which part, sorry? I'm sorry.
Is it a valid comparison to compare the output from the wastewater treatment plant with Sauvignon Blanc?
Through you, Madam Chair, I can't speak on behalf of the journalist's description, of the recovered water, and I will leave it at that. Obviously there is no correlation between wine and water. I want to assure our elected members that, we don't possess the divine powers of Jesus to turn water into wine. So I will leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Lee?
Can I just say, yet.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Lee?
Yes, I do. I'm looking at the article now, and the comment is not credited to the journalist, but to somebody called Hewitt.
Thank you.
So, who is Mr. Hewitt?
I think there's no need to go down this path. You've asked your question and it's tried to be answered. I think if you'd move on to something else.
No, we need some absolute clarity here. Can we categorically say that this is an accurate comparison, or is it not an accurate comparison? Because this is really important to the public perception.
Madam Chair, just is a wholly inaccurate comparison. Yeah, sometimes the tinge of color, in any water body denotes naturally occurring, minerals or compounds, depends on the angle of the picture taken and things like that. So I think the simple answer is that there's no comparison between wine and the recovered water.
Okay, I happen to have a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc here.
Councillor Lee, actually, I'll just move on, thank you. The next question will be...
I'd like to arrange.
Councillor, can we just move on, please? I think we need to move on to the next questions, and if you have any further questions, I'll go back to you at the end. So we'll move on to Councillor Rotorua Tate, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I did hear you say at the start that some of the people that went on the site visit, some of the partners, didn't really, or perhaps didn't have an understanding of the true extent of the mahi, and also the significance, well, obviously the significance, but the true extent of the project, actually. And I thought if they didn't realise, perhaps members of the public don't realise as well, and I wondered if there is an opportunity through the media to get that message out that it is absolutely significant, it's a major project, and, and the mahi that has to go into seeing it through to completion.
Thank you, Councillor Rotorua. Yes, I think we make every effort in our online communications and the project outlines, but I think in principle, and our parties and partners and organisations who want to have who wish to have a look at a first-hand look at the treatment plan, we're always open to site visits to enable people to see the investment this community is making into this plant.
Yeah, I just want to ask, do you feel that the public is actually aware that it is so significant? That's really
Councillor, I might jump in through you.
That's really my question.
Madam Chair, I think that's a fantastic point, and I'll take it as an action for us to look at how we might make that more accessible to the public. At the moment, it's a working site, so it's easier to manage smaller groups, but can we take that as an action? Because I think that point is really well made, that if there's a way we can use site visits to bridge that gap of understanding, it's something we could look at. So we'll take that as an action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. That was a great point. And is there any further questions? No.
Yes.
Just hold fire. Thanks, Councillor Lee. I've still got Mayor Tapsell, and then I'll go back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Just a question around the time frame, I suppose. We do know that there is a strong desire to remove what we're currently doing out of the forest, and I do note that the closure date that has been presented here will be 2031. So appreciating that the construction and commissioning, once we have a preferred solution, as has mentioned, is estimated from 2027 to 2029. I just wonder if that is a conservative estimate. Is there a possibility to do it faster? And I appreciate that we are still just investigating the preferred solutions, but that's always the big question from our community: when will this be completed? So just wanting to know, is it by 2031, or that's just an estimate based on other developments, similar developments that we know of?
Your Worship, I think the straight answer to that question is that we want to be identifying and commissioning a long-term viable solution as soon as possible. As you are aware, we are exploring a whole range of potential solutions to that. Depending on where that solution would be, that will dictate the pace of which we will implement. So I don't really want to be drawn into accurate predictions at this point in time, because again, this is a decision elected members will make in due course, will be consulted, and again, depending on the location of that discharge point, then certainly we do hope to be to have implemented a solution well before the 2030s. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that answer, and it's definitely reassuring, and I think that as soon as possible is the key message there, and that's certainly what Council is attempting to achieve through this process, which is a very, I have great confidence in the process, by the way. And then just my final question, it's really just around the consultation once we do get to that phase. It's of great interest to our community, but we can't forget that Lake Rotorua then drains down Oho Channel, Okere, Kaituna River to Makutu, and understanding that, we are part of the Te Maru o Kaituna, which is the treaty settlement between Tapuika, we're the upper bit, then you've got Western Bay, Tauranga City. So understanding that there are communities downstream that have in the past and will continue to have a great interest in what we do upstream, and just wanting reassurance, I suppose, that somewhere along the line we're listening to their feedback that they want to have a say in this process as well, and as part of the consultation there will be a connection with them to ensure comfort levels of what we are doing upstream in the catchment.
Thank you, Your Worship. We can give elected members the assurance that once a preferred solution has been identified and we are in the process of implementing it or consenting it, and obviously all directly and indirectly affected parties will be invited to express their feedback. I just want to take this opportunity again to reiterate context here. The inflows into Lake Rotorua on a dry day are about 3.8 million cubic meters of surface runoff, groundwater, runoff from streets, from roofs or gutters and things like that. Even if that recovered water was to be discharged directly into the lake or near the lake, it represents less than 0.6% of the total inflow. So I think it's quite important to put this project in the context of all the material and all the water that runs into the lake, and not to assume that whatever, this is the determining factor about the, water quality of Lake Rotorua. So thank you.
Thank you. And we'll go back to Councillor Lee for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a reminder, I serve on the Wastewater Treatment Plant Working Group, and I'd just like to signal to Ian that I would like to organise, noting that you've organised a site visit for our working group earlier this year, for the Te Arawa Partnership Group and for the media. I would like to organise a further site visit for anybody else in the community who is interested. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you. And we have taken that as an action point. The CE is going to go and look into that. So thank you. There appear to be no further questions on this item. So thank you, gentlemen. You're welcome to step away. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 8. And I advise that there are 4 items today that are for consideration in public excluded. These are 8.1, which is the confidential minutes of the Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 17th of June. 8.2 is the capital delivery update for the recovered water, the confidential section. Excuse me. 8.3, the tender recommendation for the water renewal of the Pukehangi Rising Main. And 8.4, the tender recommendation for the contract for Depot Street Sewer Rising Main, Stage 1. The public interest has been considered in these matters, and making the information publicly available would reveal commercial information of an external entity supplied into the Council in confidence, and it could also prejudice commercial negotiations. So I would like to ask if there is a mover that the Infrastructure Committee resolves to exclude the public on the grounds contained in section 48(1) of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, please. Thank you, Councillor Wang, and seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That is carried, thank you. And we'll just provide a moment for